This video is pretty much to show you guys how you can minimize your dead T3 or T4 troops. Now, what do you mean by that? Alright, let me see if I can show you guys. Let's see, is this a video? Let me see here. And, no, okay, let me see. This. So, this is an attack that I did earlier, a couple of weeks back, I think. I sent 300,000 troops, all tier 3. Okay, so as you can see here, I had some wounded, and I had 3,300 dead T3. Now, for some people, building 5,000, 3,000 T3 can take quite a while, right? So, here's some more, obviously zero this guy out, and I'm not trying to make the video to kind of, shit on the guy or anything, but I'm just showing you guys some of my battle reports from previous attacks, okay? So, this is just some videos and some stuff that I've kind of recorded, okay? So now, how can I prevent my troops from dying, my T3? That's pretty simple. You put what's called a meat shield, all right? Kind of a shield of T1, T2. If you're a T4 player, you can put T3s if you don't care about losing tier 3, because let's face it, dead tier 4s are a pain, right? Wounded T4s are also a pain, but we'll get to that later. So the ideal ratio for sending troops, okay, whenever you send an attack, 40% of your losses will be dead troops. So you can see here, I lost I'm going to say rounded up to 27,000 troops. 40% of that is dead. 60% of that is wounded. Okay? So remember, 60% whenever you go and attack somebody, not defend, whenever you attack somebody, 40% of your total losses will be dead, no matter what. If you only lose 10 troops, 4 of them will die, 6 of them will go to your infirmary. Okay? Keep that in mind. Now, how can I minimize the amount of dead tier 3 or tier 4? Well, you send enough tier 1 or tier 2 to cover those losses. Here's an example of it. So in this example, I lost 10,000 troops, give or take a couple hundred. So, but as you can see here, the only dead troops that I had were tier 1. My tier 3, they're pretty much safe. They're just wounded. They're not dead. Because I sent a ratio of 60% of my infantry were tier 3, 40% of my infantry were tier 1. 60% of my ranged were tier 3, 40% were tier 1. 60% of my royal calves were tier 3, 40% were tier 1. That way, in the event that my entire march wipes out, it gets wiped, I only have dead tier 1. My tier 3 can be healed. And I'll take a might hit, sure, but it's what? How much might per tier 1? How much might is it? It's 2 might for tier 1. So if I lose a couple 100,000, that's nothing compared to the might loss of a tier 3, which is 24. That's like 10 times the might difference right there. I'd gladly take that. I'd gladly take the dead tier 1 and wounded tier 3 compared to dead tier 3 and wounded tier 3. Alright? So here's some more examples of what I'm talking about. So, let's see, take a look at this one. So here, I attacked this person. I took, 40% loss, 850 dead troops, 850 dead tier 1. Let's take a look at this one. 2k dead troops, 2k tier 1 dead. Let's take a look at this one. 7,000 dead. But they're only tier 1. My tier 3 are not dead. They're just wounded. They're safe. That is how you protect yourself when you attack. You put in a meat shield. 40% give or take to cover your losses. Okay? So keep that in mind. If only my Royal Guard were to be wiped out, 60% of my Royal Guard are T3, 40% are Tier 1. That 40% is going to die by default because of how IGG made attacking. You would recover 60% of your dead troops. That's great. Alright, so if you guys have any questions about this, this also applies for Tier 4 players, Tier 3, Tier 2. Obviously, if you just have pure Tier 1s in your trap account, it doesn't really matter. You're going to lose T1 troops regardless. But this same method applies to Tier 4 players. You might see some players attack you, and they don't send a full T4 wave because they know that they're gonna, whatever they lose, 40% of that's gonna be dead, and they have to rebuild those troops that they lost. I think they would rather spend the resources on recovering, on healing up troops instead of building up troops from scratch. All right, so obviously some of these things might help some people, might make your lives a little bit easier. You'll lose less might, but at the same time, you have to build up your T3 army, and then you're at a comfortable place, and you can start building up your T1 army, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm building up my T1 army. I jumped up some T1 archers, some cataphracts. I'm training up some troops, some T1 troops right now. Alright, fuck it, there. And I'll train. So it takes me, give or take, 6 hours for 5,000 troops. It's not too bad. But obviously, if you have more manners, more gold training heroes, your training speed will go by a lot faster. Me, I'm not in a rush. I'm never in a rush when it comes to training troops. So yeah, this is what I'm going to be doing whenever I send out attacks. Usually, I did some testing myself personally. I am going to send 60-40% infantry. I'm not going to send 60-40 in cavalry. I'll probably send 90-10. Because unless my infantry gets wiped out, my cavalry will not take a hit at all, period. And, that's kind of obvious in these attacks. I lost some archers and infantry, but my cavalry all stayed the same. Nothing happened to them because they weren't targeted in any of the attacks. Range didn't hit them because the enemy ranged troops were targeting my infantry. And this attack, they were targeting my, same thing, right? So yeah, that's just what it is. Alright guys, if you guys have any questions about this, if you guys have any questions about my account, if you guys want me to show you something else in the account to kind of help persuade you to believe that I'm free to play. Obviously, there's some people that are hell-bent or butthurt that I'm free to play and I'm better than they are. It is what it is. But, if you have an open mind and you're open to being like, okay, yeah, sure, I believe it now, then just put in the comments, let me know what you want to see, and I'll go ahead and show it. I have nothing to hide on the account. Alright, that's it for today. I'll see you next time. Alright, bye.